interview? Because probably like in the screening process, they already had the chance to see your online portfolio. But I heard before that like having like one of those like portfolio folders with some samples of your print work can be useful in a few interviews with like whatever company, what type of company you're interviewing for. And some people are also asking like about like having iPads or computers. So like, what's your opinion on the best way to present a portfolio during an interview?
During an interview, for me, it's an iPad, and with some thought as to how it's structured. So you can flip through, and you can also, if you need to pivot during the interview, because it's like, oh, that's a fantastic part of your portfolio. Do you have more in that area rather than, I must go through in order through these slides? If there's some flexibility in it, that would be great. If you're applying for a print position, absolutely. Physical samples, that's great. Shows the registration. So shows you've gone to pre-press. You've done your color matching. I mean, that gets very specific. And if you need, if you're applying for a position like that, absolutely bring the stuff that's absolutely relevant. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I've brought my computer to interviews before. It's a laptop, so it's not as ideal as an iPad, and I completely agree. If you have access to an iPad or a big tablet with a big screen, bring that over a computer for sure. It's way cleaner, it's way easier it's more intuitive for people at this point, especially with phones and everything. And yes, I used to bring printed materials. I really hope I had anything around here, but I don't. But yes, I think like bringing printed materials. I have this brochure that I did when I worked at ILAC that I brought to every interview that I've done in here in Canada, and God knows that there's a lot. So that brochure saw a lot of offices, and I think it's important if you had any printed material that you have samples. I think it caused a good impression, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, they were very useful for me during job interviews before, especially when you have something like a little card on your sleeve that they were not expecting to see, and boom, you have it. That can be a winner in an interview.
Yes, and you can bring up something very specific about that you're particularly proud of. Like you're looking at this, and it looks like a 6-color job, but we were able to do it for 4, save the company money, whatever it is.
I think that's a really important argument to always bring to any interview. Any decisions that you've made that save the company money and you achieve the result as good as you wouldn't. I think it's a great argument to bring to any interview.
So we have a few questions here. So Candace is asking to Michael, what is the biggest difference that you felt moving from an agency to an in-house company? And I think that question also applies to Victor as well.
I saw this question come in, and I hated the idea of going to a company. I'd like to be in-house. I thought that was going to be the most boring thing in the world. And so I actually refused 3 times. I turned down my current job 3 times because I didn't want to go. I thought it would be one subject, one direction. There wouldn't be an opportunity to do different things. I would be just doing the same. I thought it would be repetitive. Working in an agency, there's always something coming in from left field and then right field, and then things stop and they start, and there's different clients, and you have to learn about this client and how this, all this variety, which I really like. And it turns out that working in-house the way I do, there's plenty of variety. So I was mistaken, but I was determined not to go to this company.
And here you go, 13 years later.
Exactly.
I have a similar experience with the difference that I never worked in an ad agency here in Canada. I only worked in-house. But my experience back home was full only agencies, right? So I always thought like, okay, when I go to a company, to an in-house market, I used to think like the agencies were like the elite creatives, like all the best creatives are in agencies, and everybody that couldn't make 2 agencies are working in in-house departments. And I couldn't be more wrong.
But that's what the agency people tell each other.
Oh yeah. And that's it is exactly what we told each other multiple times, and it's so wrong. And especially with what you said, just complaining, like I had exactly the same thought. Like here in the agency, I work with multiple clients. There's always something new coming up, and there's always a lot of space for new ideas. Try new things, and I thought that this would not be the case in an in-house marketing team, and this is exactly how it was exactly wrong. Like it's the completely opposite, at least in my experience so far.
Now, there's also something that neither of you suffer from, and that is ageism. At an advertising agency, people of a certain age just disappear one day. They're just gone, and there's a new younger person in their place. And so when you get to a certain age, it's actually very difficult to stay in the agency world. It's really surprising. Companies are more tolerant of that. It's going to take you to quite a few years. You're only tiny on a Zoom screen, but I can tell it's going to take you quite a few years to get there. But it might show up. In fact, it usually does.
Yeah, and well, I also work in house now, so and I tend to believe that what you said, Michael, it makes it makes a lot of sense, especially because like companies, they prefer to have people with like build knowledge about the company. So they prefer to have people that knows everything about the company, about the processes, about the services, about the products, because this is not something that you can just like bring from the market, even if you had worked like in a similar industry, but like the specifics of each company can be very different. And I believe that like companies, they do appreciate a lot the company experience. So in agencies, they probably have they have like this very competitive environment, and at the same time, they are always like looking for like fresh ideas, new blood every day. So I think that's a very important factor, like a very important thing that you mentioned, actually. Okay, Victor, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, what was your biggest challenge in trying to understand the Canadian industry, the Canadian market?
I think to me, as I've said earlier, like the cultural differences, like as such as in Brazil having a big brand name on your portfolio, I have done work for them, like counts so much more points than having great work. Like at least in my experience, if you had like mediocre work done for Coca-Cola, people will go to your portfolio, and you have like amazing work done to the neighborhood bakery, people will not look at it. And here, people look at least in my experience, they look more at the work itself, less than the names involved. And to me, like understanding more was the working culture. At least, in my opinion, like back home, we overwork a lot, even without necessity most of the times, in my opinion. And like here is more focus about the work itself, less than the social aspect in the company, I think.
So how would you, so is it, there is less socializing in Canada, or more hours per
Yes.
week, or?
No, I've my experience at least, like I worked in two agencies in Brazil, and like both of them, there was a lot of wasted time over like socializing and like meetings, and here's more work focused, and by default, and we ended up working way more I ended up working way more hours in Brazil than here.
Okay.
Okay, so we're running out of time here now, and so first of all, like I wanted to say thank you so much, Michael and Victor, for your participation here today. I think it was a very valuable workshop for everybody that is in here, and thank you guys so much. And also that I don't know if anyone have any more questions, but if you do, you can reach out to us through email, brainsnetworking@gmail.com. And also want to say thank you to everyone that joined the meeting today. And I'm so sorry, like I need to apologize for the technical problems that we had in the beginning, but I'm very glad that everybody was able to connect. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Silvia. Thank you, Michael. And thanks everybody for coming out.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, bye.
See you in the next
Bye.
one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.